Hey everyone, yeah, this is my live NXT Takeover WarGames preview and prediction. Thought I'd give you guys a bit of, give you guys my idea, my thoughts on how NXT Takeover WarGames is going to take place. Now, let me just move that a bit. Now, as far as the WarGames match is concerned, in case you guys don't know about WarGames, and I'm pretty sure anybody from DALYXMAN to anybody that's talked about this, it's pretty much gave you the concept, or at least the original concept of what WarGames is about. And let's just say that WWE bringing back WarGames is a good idea, but from what we've been hearing, almost as recently as of today, yeah, they're bringing back WarGames, but it's not particularly the way a lot of us might remember. Now, don't get me wrong; they're still keeping the two cage structure. I mean, the two ring structure and the big cage surrounding it. But what's changed about it is the fact that instead of maybe having the athletes at ringside like the originals, or having them wait in the back for the call, instead you're going to have them in shark cages that are either going to be at the entranceway or on the ramp or something. It's going to be near the ring, but not around the ring. It's just going to be, sorry for the lag there. It's just going to be, it's not going to be around the ring or anything. It's mainly going to be around the entrance, at the beginning of the entrance, near the entrance, near the Minitron or on the ramp, something like that. So that's how that's going to play out. So that's how, well, not play out, but that's how the participants that have not yet got in WarGames are going to be secured at, or going to be waiting at. Now, we don't know if there's a coin toss. There might be, but from what it sounds like, and DALYXMAN, I want to correct you on this, it sounds like we're not going to get a coin toss. Instead, it's just going to be like Elimination Chamber. It's going to be a random draw. And from what it sounds like, it's going to be, it sounds like it's going to start with the traditional two-man starting out concept. And then the way WWE has it planned out is randomly a shark cage is going to open and somebody from one team is going to enter and either make it a triple threat, three-way, or they're going to make it a handicap situation. So that's basically what I'm getting out of this. Another change besides that is one that was recently announced today during a conference call that Triple H Paul Levesque had concerning NXT and NXT Takeover WarGames. And the announcement that came out of this conference call is something that I'm pretty sure DALYXMAN, you may not be happy about. To be honest with you, you may not be happy. Because for any of us that have watched WarGames, either we're new to the concept and we're trying to freshen ourselves up, get ourselves knowledgeable in time to watch it, or we're longtime viewers and we know about the concept. The fact that WWE is bringing it back, like I said, is great. But just like with any promotion, apparently WWE wants to make it their own. And DALYXMAN, I'll tell you. And DALYXMAN, I'll tell you, you may not like what you see. Or not like what you see, but like what you hear, or may have heard. Because I know Alex, DALYXMAN, is going to go is going to go to the Toyota Center. Sorry about that, and see WarGames and NXT Takeover. So, congrats on that. Have fun with that. But the one thing I'm sure that DALYXMAN has become a fan of when it came to WarGames is that enclosed structure. Well, unfortunately, that's not going to happen this time. That is basically, it's out the window. Yeah, it's out the window. Because what I'm trying to get at is during the conference call today, Triple H made the announcement that the steel cage that's going to surround both rings, is not going to have, a roof. Yeah, it's not going to have a roof. Can you believe that? It's not going to have a roof. And I'm kind of upset about that, maybe because I'm used to a WarGames that has a roof. I mean, let's be honest. Impact Wrestling, TNA, whatever you want to call it, they had their own version of the WarGame. And anytime they had their version of the WarGames, which was known as Lockdown, they had a roof. Yeah, they had to wait till all 5 or 4 participants were in the ring, but at least they had a roof. Now, you might say there's one exception to that. You might say, well, Brian, that's not necessarily true. Wasn't there one exception? Yes, there was an exception. When they decided to have the Lockdown pay-per-view at the Alamo Dome, apparently they didn't realize that by having the Lockdown pay-per-view at the Alamo Dome, kind of prevented the cage, the roof, from being utilized. So that's one exception from a pay-per-view perspective. Now, I will admit there have been other occasions when they've done the one-night-only events, and they've shown those on pay-per-view, mainly those being taped house show or live events. Yeah, they've done the Lethal Lockdown match too, which is their WarGames match. And then there have been a few occasions to where they've done it and they haven't had a roof. So, again, it's not the first time. I mean, here's the thing. One of the last ones I know that they did without a roof was, like I say, one of the one-night-only events, and that was Team Angle against Team Rude. That was the only other time that I know of. I'm not saying there wasn't any other time. I'm not saying that. But it was definitely one of the few occasions. A majority of the time, when they would do Lethal Lockdown, it would either be on pay-per-view or on a special edition of Impact, and they would always have an enclosed roof being lowered from the ceiling. Now, I don't know if they're going to be able to do that again if they ever get to that point, depending on where they would have Lockdown or a Lethal Lockdown match that would be aired on pay-per-view or television. But what I'm getting at is even TNA, Impact Wrestling, whatever you want to call them, even they, on most occasions, if not a majority of the time, for the Lethal Lockdown match, the WarGames match, they would have a roof that would be lowered. So they would basically have the concept of what the WarGames match was. They would have that concept. Even PWU, with their chains and cuffed event that you can see, I think, here on YouTube, even they had an idea of the concept. Even Ring of Honor and CZW, when they did that interpromotional deal, and CZW in general have an idea of what a WarGames match is supposed to be like, because you're supposed to have an enclosed structure. But that's not what's happening here. Instead, Triple H has decided that there's going to be no roof. That this is going to be, I guess, a new cage that's being built or something like that, but it's not going to have a roof. And the reason for it, according to what Triple H said, is it's kind of a confinement kind of issue. It's like the NXT stars that are involved in this matchup are not going to have room to probably do moonsaults or jump off the jump off the top of the rope, or do some kind of spectacular OMG moment if they're confined within the structures of an enclosed cage. So he's decided that for the WWE's interpretation of War Games, the rebooted version, let's be honest, that instead they're going to basically keep the cage open and not enclosed. And I know that some people that are going to War Games, the NXT Takeover War Games, are probably not too happy about that. Honestly, I don't blame them if they are. DALYXMAN, Alex, I know if you're watching and you're hearing about this, I know you're not too thrilled about it. I don't blame you. I really don't. But if I was to look at a positive light, if I was trying to look at this in a positive light, a positive way, a lot of companies like to do their own interpretations. I mentioned TNA Impact Wrestling. You know, they could have easily, even up till now, they could easily afford to do 2 6-sided rings, put a big old cage around it, and that's how they can have a War Games or a Lethal Lockdown, if they chose to. But to make it their own, they've decided to basically put the 6 sides of ring, 1 ring, 6 sides of steel, or when they did the 4-sided ring, 1 cage, whatever, and there you go. But they still made it their own, and they still found a way to kind of keep it true to the War Games concept by having the enclosed roof be lowered, being lowered after, after all participants were in the ring. Another thing that they did that kind of made it their own is they added weapons, so that when the cage lowered, you could also utilize weapons. And depending on the participants in the match, it all depended on what kind of variety of weapons they would be able to use. So when I look at WWE making this decision to take the roof off and just make it a regular 2-ring cage, basically an expanded version of a cage, and if you hear anything, it's raining outside. It's been raining off and on today. But when I hear that WWE's taking the roof off, or at least Triple H is making that announcement that there's not going to be a roof, it may be disappointing. They may be keeping a lot of the concepts, of you can't win the match until all participants are in there. They're keeping the 2-ring deal and all that, enclosing it in a cage. We may be happy to keeping those concepts, but when WWE makes the announcement that they're going to remove the roof off the cage, again, I know a lot of people are not too happy about it, but I look at it as though WWE's trying to put their own spin on it. Like maybe WWE, like maybe Triple H is trying to think, okay, if WWE had done this in the past, this is what I'm guessing, my opinion. I'm guessing Triple H is probably thinking, if the WWE had done this in the past, like when he was wrestling full time, when he was wrestling every night, full time, whatever, along with the likes of an Angle or whatever, or even back in the days of a Hogan and a Warrior and a Savage, the Federation years, if you will. He's trying to think on how Vince maybe have done it if he would have gone and done the War Games. Like maybe what would have Vince done? Would he have kept it the way we know, or would he have changed it up? And being the son-in-law and maybe having some in and outs with Vince at times, because let's be honest, there have been reports where they've kind of been like at each other's throats. Is it possible? Is it possible that he's trying to think along the lines of what perhaps Vince would have done had Vince incorporated the match long ago? Would Vince kept it the same, or would he changed it up? And that's what he's thinking. And he's probably thinking, you know what? Vince probably would have changed it up and probably would have kept some of the concepts that made War Games what it is, but added his own spin to it. And that's basically what I think Triple H is doing here. He's like, okay, because even though, like I said, he may be on the in and outs with Vince when it comes to decision making, he's probably trying to think, how would Vince handled it if he would have done this match originally years before? Because let's be honest, Vince McMahon and his creative staff, his booking staff, have had tons of opportunities to do the War Games match ever since WCW went out of business, and even before then. They could have done their own interpretation of it, but they never did. And even afterwards, they could have done it. Heck, they could have used it to salvage the Invasion storyline at that year's Survivor Series, if you think about it. But again, I'm trying to think in my head that perhaps the reason WWE and mostly Triple H probably decided to change it up is maybe thinking along the lines of how Vince probably would have changed it up. That's just my opinion. But yeah, the more recent news coming out as far as NXT Takeover War Games is concerned, like I said, is the fact that it's going to be a roofless 2-ring cage. So, and that might be good. It might be a positive. We may be upset about it now, but when we tune into the network and watch it, or you're there live, like DALYXMAN's going to be, and I think even Rowdy C, Chris Lee Moore of Rowdy's Reviews, TV Trash might be. Who knows? It might be a good thing. Maybe Triple H is on to something. Like maybe he's gone, because let's be honest, he's a student of the game. He's not called the game for nothing. So he probably saw how confined certain superstars were in the original War Games concept, and probably thought, you know what? Let's lose the cage, let's lose the roof, let's see what happens there. And he's probably onto something. But is it disappointing that we won't get the original cage for War Games? Yeah. But maybe Hunter's onto something. We'll just have to wait and see. Because again, you got to look at the participants in the match. But anyway, let's go down the card here. Hold on for a sec, and let me pull it up. Let's go down the card here for a second, folks. Now, we do know that there are some matches that are going to take place as part of NXT tapings that will happen before the Takeover event. DALYXMAN has mentioned a few of them. He's mentioned Pete Dunne against Johnny Gargano for the UK Championship. Okay, that sounds interesting. Okay, that sounds interesting. I think if they are, to me, as far as that match goes, that's going to be on the NXT show this Wednesday. I look at it along the lines of, if they've already started to show Pete Dunne on Raw, if they've decided, okay, we're going to put Pete Dunne on Raw, even though it was in the UK, and that's the reason they did it, even though they put him on Raw, which is kind of a big deal, I don't think they're going to take the belt off him yet, because it sounds like they're behind Pete Dunne, and I think they want to give him a little bit more of a run with the championship until they get somebody else built up to take it from him. And then that's when I think Pete Dunne's going to end up on Raw or SmackDown. That's my honest opinion. And expect when that moment happens for Pete Dunne to automatically be thrust into the title picture, not the Universal World title of the WWE title picture, but expect Pete Dunne, depending on what show he may go to after he drops the UK title, expect him to be a contender for either the Intercontinental or the US belt. But yeah, overall, I think Pete Dunne is going to be walking out with his championship intact. Now, another match that he talked about was Ruby Riot against Sonia Deville. Now, apparently this has been built up because Ruby Riot got hurt by Sonya Deville, and Deville's blaming Riot for her costing her an opportunity at the Women's Championship. Again, this sounds like another match that when it airs next week, sounds like basically they're trying to build up Sonya Deville as the next big women's star, or outside of Asuka and outside of Kairi Sane. So I would expect Sonya Deville to win this match, and I expect her to win and submit with a submission, and maybe in some kind of semi-dominant fashion. Because from what I've seen with this girl, when I've watched NXT here and there, I watched some clips of NXT here and there. What I've seen with this girl, WWE obviously is behind her. They are behind Sonia Deville, and expect her to be on the main roster before maybe the year's out, or at least expect her on the main roster during the early portion of next year. Earliest being after Mania. Expect that to happen. Okay, as far as the rest of the match is concerned, the rest of the card is concerned, let's start with obviously what's going to be the opening match. And to me, the opening match is going to be Aleister Black and the Velveteen Dream. And this is an interesting concept because it looks like they're trying to build the Velveteen Dream, Patrick Clark, up as to be this generation's Goldust. That's what it sounds like to me. In fact, someone I think even asked the Solomonster during one of his Q&As on one of his podcasts if maybe they should pair the Velveteen Dream up with Goldust, have Goldust be his mentor, and thus build him up as to be the next Goldust as the Velveteen Dream. Because the way DALYXMAN described on what was going on, and this kind of tells you I haven't been watching NXT that much, but the way Goldust, not Goldust, but the way DALYXMAN was building him, was talking about it. Hold on for a sec. I gotta go take care of something. Hold on for a sec. It got dark real quickly. Anyway, like I was saying, the way they built this up with the Velveteen Dream, according to DALYXMAN Alex, it basically sounds like it's almost similar to what Goldust used to do when he first arrived. You know, Goldust did it to opponents he would go up against. Like he did it to Bam Bam for a little bit. He did it to Razor Ramon, Scott Hall. You know, he's done it to a lot of people. I mean, heck, even when he made his return in 2002, he started to kind of do it with a RVD. So to me, that what's going on here with the Velveteen Dream sounds very similar because the situation with Aleister Black, sounds very similar to what Goldust had done in the past with the stars that I've mentioned. So this is a very intriguing concept. Now the question is who comes out on top here? Well, one thing Alex DALYXMAN brought up a lot was you need a shocker. You need something that's going to get people's attention right off the bat. And Velveteen Dream going over Aleister Black would be a shocker because Aleister has been built up to be this next big thing, possibly in WWE, this next phenom maybe. But at the same time, they've taken Patrick Clark and reinvented him into basically this, like I said, this generation's Goldust. So how do you go? What do you go with here? Who do you go with? Honestly, I think you stick with. I think you got to stick with what brought you to the dance. I think honestly, you got to keep the momentum going with Aleister Black. You can't derail it right now. I mean, yeah, you're building up Velveteen Dream. It's like I said, to be the next Goldust or this generation's Goldust. But I think right now you need to have Aleister Black remain undefeated so that when you bring him to the main roster, it's a much bigger deal. depending on what show he goes to, it becomes a much bigger deal. Kind of like with Asuka, and how they're saying, they're basically saying that her being around, despite the fact that she's in the women's Survivor Series elimination match, her being brought up the way she was and being built up, basically, I see them trying to do something similar with Aleister Black. So I think if they're going to do that, you got to keep him undefeated. I don't think one loss to someone like Aleister Black is going to hurt Velveteen Dream, because if they're still going to try to build him up as the next Goldust, then I don't think it's going to hurt him. Heck, you could do a double count out, and it really wouldn't hurt either guy either. So, but honestly, I think they got to stick with Aleister Black. You got to stick with what brought you to the table. The other match that's happening is Cassius Ono against Laws Sullivan. Now, from what I understand, Laws Sullivan, according to what DALYXMAN said, trying to see here, doesn't have much information on him, but they're trying to build him up as Alex put it, the next Brock Lesnar. Now he said that. Now, one thing that caught my ear was DALYXMAN said that he was the trainer of Brock Lesnar. How could he be the trainer if he was born in '88? I think that's what it said here. Yeah, born in '88. How could he be the trainer? I don't think he is. Well, he may have trained with him in as far as MMA goes. I can buy that. I can buy that. And again, if you hear anything in the background, that's rain. But again, I can buy him being like a training with Brock Lesnar as far as MMA goes and his current run in WWE goes. I can buy that. So if they're trying to build him up as the next Brock Lesnar, then I can definitely see him going over here. But here's the thing. You bring Chris Hero back. You are able to re-sign him. You're able to bring him back. And he's already made it clear as far as storyline goes that he wants to prove he belongs in the NXT Championship picture. What do you do here? Who do you go with? Do you go with basically what is logically an upset, would be an upset with Ono going over Sullivan? Or do you keep Sullivan dominant to where sooner or later he's going to be on the main roster? I mean, he's what, 6'3", 303 pounds, known as the Freak? If I'm WWE, I keep that momentum going with the guy, especially if I'm planning to bring him to the main roster. And this is a guy that you could say, well, he needs more time in the ring. He needs more time down in NXT. There's probably no doubt about that. But if we know WWE and we know Vince McMahon, and he sees someone like a Laws Sullivan, being treated the way he was, being pushed and treated the way he is in NXT, and he's hearing people saying, "Oh, he's the next Brock Lesnar." Why wouldn't you bring him up sooner than later? Here's what I think is going to happen. Laws Sullivan's going to be on the main roster. He's going to show up officially. He's going to be on the main roster after Mania. I predict that. But I think what's going to happen is we're going to get a taste of Laws Sullivan this January when he becomes a participant in the Royal Rumble. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. We're going to get a taste of him in the Royal Rumble. Remember, we got a taste of Rusev, right? When he was in the Royal Rumble. That was a surprise. So it wouldn't be the first time. And heck, we got a taste of Killian Dane in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at Mania. So it wouldn't be the first time the WWE has done this. So I would expect Laws Sullivan to be on the main roster officially after Mania, but I also expect us to get a sneak peek of him on the main roster when it comes to the Royal Rumble. But as far as this match goes, it's kind of up and down. I mean, you want to obviously put Ono in the title picture, at least put him up against McIntyre for the championship, or at least maybe up against Adam Cole when Adam Cole wins it if they go that direction. So it's kind of up and down, but if I'm WWE, it's kind of hard for me to make, but I think honestly I would go with Laws Sullivan. I don't think a loss to Laws Sullivan is going to hurt Cassius Ono, because the guy's pretty much got a reputation that anybody would love to have in this business. And I don't think he's going to mind putting someone younger than he is over in this matchup, knowing that this guy is the future of the business, or possibly the future of the business and the next big thing of this generation. So I don't think Chris Hero is going to mind putting over Laws Sullivan. All right, next matchup, which I think will be the third match of the night, the Fatal 4-Way for the vacant NXT Women's Championship. We have Ember Moon, the Mae Young Classic winner, Kairi Sane, Nikki Cross, and Payton Royce, accompanied by Billie Kay. Now, I would expect maybe Billie Kay being injected during or before the match, so that it's 4-on-4, not 5-on, not, so it's actually 4-on-4 and not, 2-on-3 or whatever you want to call it, or any kind of advantage given to somebody else. And a lot of people are predicting Ember Moon to walk out finally with the NXT Women's Championship. And that's probably a safe bet. Here's a woman that's gone through pretty much a lot. She got injured. Either she got injured accidentally by Asuka. She got injured accidentally by Asuka. She has failed not once but twice to try to get the women's championship. She failed in a one-on-one match in Chicago at that takeover show, when everybody thought, well, Asuka's heading to the main roster, she's going to put her over. She's got to put Ember over. That didn't happen. So basically now a lot of people are looking at the fact that, well, you don't have Asuka anymore. You have Kairi Sane, you have Nikki Cross, you have Peyton Royce, but the obvious choice. Obviously to them the choice to go over in this match would be Ember Moon. She would be. Ember Moon would be Athena. I think that's what her name was. Yeah, Athena. She's the obvious choice to go over in this matchup. However, again, going back to what DALYXMAN said in his review, DALYXMAN basically said that you need a shocker. Now, the two obvious predictions and obvious favorites to walk out with that championship are Ember Moon and Kairi Sane. Kairi Sane is I think is undefeated since she's been in the WWE in NXT. So if you want to keep that momentum going, you'd want to put the belt on her. So that's an obvious favorite and obvious choice as far as predictions go. As far as predictions go, as far as people like myself, DALYXMAN, OTRSCENTRAL, Chase Oliver, Rowdy C, Pro Wrestling Report, PW Insider, No DQ, Solid Monster, you name it. She's pretty much, along with Ember Moon, the two safest choices to go with to walk out with the championship. But then you got Nikki Cross and Peyton Royce. Now, Nikki Cross is the kind of character that you might say doesn't really need a championship to get over. And I would be cool with that, because here's why. She's part of one of the most over groups right now in NXT, and possibly soon to be WWE if they don't, and soon to be WWE main roster if they don't screw it up. Insanity. She's part of one of the most over groups in NXT, and possibly, like I said, soon to be the WWE main roster if they don't screw it up. Insanity. So she is the kind that obviously doesn't really need the championship, but if they decide to give it to her, I wouldn't have a problem with that, because I could see WWE, at least as far as NXT goes, booking her to be the kind of champion that's willing to fight and willing to defend in any kind of matchup necessary. You want her to defend in a street fight, she'll defend in a street fight. You want to, put a parental guidance warning on an episode of NXT or an edition of or a takeover, a future takeover special, and have her compete in a barbed wire match defending the championship, I'm sure she'd be cool with that too. She's the kind of superstar. She's the kind of superstar that even if, like I say, if you give her the championship, she would defend it in any kind of one of those matches, no doubt about it. Heck, she'd even can defend it in an asylum match, and maybe be the kind that would take, even in a successful defense, take a thumbtack spot or convince her opponent to take one. I'm just saying. So Nikki Cross, I would be okay if she had the championship, although she's the kind that, because of association with Sanity, I don't think she really needs it, and I don't think she'll really need it going up to the main roster, because there's no doubt they probably give her a run with a championship there. Payton Royce, however, this right here, Payton Royce, her and Billie Kay are known as the iconic duo, or the iconic ones. Love what they're doing. I haven't seen much of it, but I love what they're doing. DALYXMAN's right on point with this by saying they're kind of like that Valley Girl, diva-ish kind of duo. Like, basically, they're the kind that if WWE decided to give them a gimmick when they go to the main roster, or decided to enhance their gimmick or add to their characters, add to the gimmick, that they could be the kind that would be against the women's revolution, that they would be the kind that want to bring back the divas revolution. They'd want things to go from being women's division to divas division. They're the kind that could actually, in a storyline like that, could pull it off successfully. I really do. So to me, Payton Royce being in this match, perfect addition. And her being accompanied by Billie Kay, perfect all the way. Again, though, I think Billie Kay may be ejected during or before the match to make sure it's a fair a fair fatal four-way. So I do see Payton Royce being part of this as a good addition. But who comes out on top? Like I said, Ember Moon and Kairi Sane are the two safe bets. Nikki Cross, you could give it to her, and she'd be the kind that you could book and having her defend it in any kind of crazy, wild style match that you could think of. But I'm gonna go with the unpredictable. I'm gonna go with the shocker. I'm gonna go with the surprise of the night. I'm gonna go with the shocker, and I'm gonna go with Payton Royce. Payton Royce, in my opinion, is the perfect candidate to walk out with that championship, because the storylines you could work with her alongside Kairi Sane, because they're already planting the seeds with that. They've already planted the seeds there. The storylines you can work with that would be fabulous. They'd be unbelievably good. I have no doubt. Because you could have her and Billie Kay do whatever it takes to make sure Kairi Sane doesn't get a hold of that championship. You could have Payton Royce defend against Kairi Sane on an episode of NXT or the Nxt Takeover, and when she's sent outside the ring, go and grab the belt as fast. Have Billie Kay grab the belt, give it to her, walk away, get counted out. Hey, they keep the championship. They do whatever it takes to keep the title until finally William Regal has enough and books him in a situation to where there's no running, there's no escaping, and it's a fair, straight-up match between Payton Royce and Kairi Sane. It writes itself. It writes itself. That's why Payton Royce, I believe, goes over here, and I think she goes over thanks to Ember Moon. Here's what I mean. I believe Ember Moon's gonna hit her Eclipse finisher on either Nikki Cross or Kairi Sane, and just when she's about to go for the pin, Payton Royce is going to come in and do what Trevor Lee did at Bound for Glory in that X Division match. And she's going to push Ember Moon out of the way and get the 1, 2, 3 and virtually steal the victory from Ember, and thus steal the women's championship out of the grasp of Ember Moon. Now, she could also do the same thing with Kairi Sane. And again, that would play into the storyline they're building up between them. That could work, because you could have Kairi Sane hit Nikki Cross or Ember Moon with the elbow, with her diving elbow, and Payton Royce can come in, throw Kairi Sane out of the ring, get the 1, 2, 3. To me, it works. to me, it works. This is obviously got to be the direction they go in, because why would you add Payton Royce into this match if you weren't probably going to put the belt on her inevitably? Because you know what? They've been teasing the fact that she or Billie Kay have been this close to that title, have been wanting that title. Guess what? This is the perfect opportunity. This is the perfect matchup for it to happen, because they don't have to worry about an Oscar or anything beating the heck out of them or smiling if they hit her in the face or something and giving them that sinister, like, oh, you just screwed up kind of like smile. This is the perfect environment. This is the perfect environment as far as Payton Royce is concerned. And you know what? You can even play up Payton Royce and Billie Kay. Because think about this. You could have Payton Royce go off and do her thing with Kairi Sane. And in the midst of it, you can have Billie Kay take the punishment from Kairi Sane, and Payton Royce just runs up and leaves Billie Kay to the wolves. So that inevitably, if Kairi Sane gets the belt off Payton Royce, this could lead to Payton Royce and Billie Kay going at each other, because Billie Kay could be probably the reason why Payton Royce loses and everything, because maybe Payton Royce has been feeding Billie Kay to the wolves, and they're supposed to be longtime friends, lifelong friends. Story writes it. I mean, the story that could come out of Payton Royce winning the championship write themselves. So my prediction, the shocker of the night, is Payton Royce is going to walk out NXT Women's Champion. Bank on it. Bank on that. Now, as far as the next match for the NXT Championship, Drew McIntyre against Andrea Almas with Zelina Vega, formerly Traya Trinidad in TNA, or Sarita, if you will, as part of Mexican America, in case you guys don't remember that stable. This is interesting because originally it was supposed to be Adam Cole. So where does WWE go with this? Who do they put over? Who do they put over? Who do they put over here? You know, who do they put over? Well, if you're gonna pair someone like Andrea Almas with Zelina Vega, Traya Trinidad, usually when you pair somebody up with someone like her and she's being portrayed the way she is on NXT, from what I understand, then it's obvious you got to give them at least a run with the championship. Now, I don't know if they're going to do that. It's up to them. To me, I think Drew McIntyre has been doing okay. You know, he may not be on the level of like DALYXMAN put it, previous NXT champions, but you know what? Neither was Bobby Roode. But he was still a over champion, even though he was a heel. So, who do I see coming out here? Well, I think obviously they want to build towards Drew McIntyre facing Adam Cole down the line, maybe even Roderick Strong down the line. And maybe even Laws Sullivan if they decide to give him a shot before he goes up to the main roster. And maybe even Cassius Ono. So, and I would guess even the Velveteen Dream and Aleister Black. So there's still a lot of potential matchups for McIntyre to have. And the same could be said for Andrea Almas. You know, if they put the belt on him, same thing. But I think more from a believable, more like a dream matchup perspective, there's still a lot to go with McIntyre. And I don't think Drew would be ready to go back up to the main roster. I think he wants to make sure he's more seasoned, more ready for that call-up, so that when he does eventually go up, he doesn't screw it up, or it doesn't get screwed up like the last time he was on the WWE main roster. So, how do you call this one? Well, if they decide to put the belt on Andrea Almas, I could see it's because of Zelina Vega interfering, causing a distraction. I can see that. You know, let's just say they do something out of the Bobby Heenan playbook. a la WrestleMania, what was it, 5? Because if you go back and watch WrestleMania 5 during the match between Warrior and Rude had basically, I think what happened was Warrior slingshotted Rude in, but what happened was Keenan grabbed onto Warrior's foot, caused him to fall backwards and have Rude fall on top of him, and Rude beat him for the championship. So I could see a scenario like that playing out. But I think, to me, it's a toss-up. But if I was to do a flip of the coin, let's say if I was to do a flip of the coin, knowing my luck, it would probably fall on the side for Drew McIntyre. So I'd probably go Drew McIntyre because, like I said, if you're going to build towards him and Adam Cole like you're doing a house show you're doing this week in San Antonio, because obviously they got Shawn Michaels as the referee, so that's a big deal. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But I think the obvious choice is you got to keep it on McIntyre if you're going to build to him and Cole at the next NXT Takeover show in January, if that's where they're going. So it's a toss-up, but I'm going to go with Drew McIntyre in what could be a hard-fought victory. Now we get to the WarGames match. WarGames. We have the Authors of Pain and Roderick Strong against Sanity, Alexander Wolf, Eric Young, and Killian Dane. Against the Undisputed Era, Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly, or as I like to call them, Team Ring of Honor, Team ROH. In a WarGames match, WWE style. Now, like I said earlier, they've kept some of the rules of pinfall and submission, and pinfall submission can't happen until everybody's in the ring, and then that's when the match beyond can happen. So the question is, who goes over here? I think it's obvious. I think it's really obvious. You're going to go with the Undisputed Era. It's too obvious to me. I mean, they could bait and switch us because apparently, from what Alex DALYXMAN says, Triple H loves to do that. He loves to bait and switch his fans of the WWE universe, the NXT universe. So it could be Sanity for all we know. It could be the Authors of Pain and Roderick Strong. But I think all clues are pointing. I think all hints and clues are pointing to the Undisputed Era. You just brought them in. You just brought them together. Yeah, they suffered a few minor losses here and there by pinfall during episodes of NXT, but honestly, if you're gonna push them as a faction, and thus the faction that you use to push Adam Cole to the NXT title and making him NXT champion, thus being able to push him towards his run in the main roster now down the line, you got to go with the Undisputed Era. You got to go with Team Ring of Honor, Team ROH, as I call it. And here's why. Because out of all three teams that are involved, one is not like the others. And I think you know what I mean. What I mean here is I think Roderick Strong's going to turn on the Authors of Pain. He's going to help the Undisputed Era. He's going to join up with them. And now you're going to have the Undisputed Era go from 3 to 4. And I got a feeling Roderick's going to say that the reason he joined up is he's sick and tired of being held down. He's sick and tired of being screwed out of opportunities. He's known Adam Cole and Red Dragon for a long time. They've worked together in the same promotions and found success in those promotions together and against each other. So I could see that being a reasoning for Roderick to turn on AOP and help the Undisputed Era win. So do I see some great matchups? Do I see some good do I see a great brawl here, a great fight here, a great WarGames match? Yeah, I do. Will it be on the level of previous WarGames matches? Maybe not. Do I see some OMG moments now that we won't have the roof of the cage confining certain superstars? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I see it. I see someone like Roderick Strong coming off the top. I see, you know, and this is going to be before he probably betrays AOP. I could see Eric Young doing the same thing. Heck, I could see Bobby Fish or Kyle O'Reilly doing it. Heck, I could see one of the 4 big men doing it. You know, I can see a lot of stuff. Heck, I can see one of the sides of the cage being broken down if somebody gets slammed into it by either one of the AOPs or either Wolf or Dane. I can see that too. But I do see some OMG moments happening here. I do see some good matchup, a good overall WarGames match as far as, you know, as far as its debut in WWE goes, overall in WWE goes. I see it delivering. I see it delivering as far as WarGame matches are concerned. But in the end, I feel that the Undisputed Era is going to be walking out on top. And I think it's going to be because Roderick Strong's going to betray the AOP and join up with the Undisputed Era, like a lot of people are predicting, and pretty much seems obvious to them. So, yeah, I think it's the Undisputed Era because they got too much momentum right now, guys. They got too much momentum. So, really, that's all I can really say on it. I don't know if I could say any bit more, but yeah, those are my predictions, my thoughts. Going back over them, as far as the main takeover show goes, I see Laws Sullivan going over Ono. I see Aleister Black going over Dream. I see Drew McIntyre barely going over, or just going over Andrea Almas. I see Payton Royce as being the shocker of the night, walking out with the NXT Women's Championship. And I see the Undisputed Era walking out of the first WWE WarGames or WWE version of WarGames as the victors, thanks to Roderick Strong, helping them and joining up with them. So, really, that's all I'm going to say on my my preview and predictions for NXT Takeover WarGames that takes place this Saturday. Thank you all for watching live. Let me know what you guys have thought. As a matter of fact, let me check what you guys have said here. Let me see what you guys have said here. But yeah, thank you all for watching live. Thank you all for watching post live after it's already been uploaded. Let me know what you guys all think. Again, let me see what we have here. See what the live chat says. Okay, Singh Brothers. The Singh Brothers came back to NXT. Okay, I don't like that name. That's it. Okay, you're hidden. You're hidden. Yeah. Yeah, I don't appreciate certain comments. You guys get the point. And by the way, shouldn't you be doing homework for your classes in high school and middle school? Anyway, those are just my. But getting back on topic here, those are just my predictions here on my here on this preview and predictions show that I've done. Let me know what you guys think down below. Thank you all for watching live. Those that don't disrespect because they have nothing else to do, or else they're middle schoolers, if you catch my drift. And they don't understand the concept of people doing videos like this. But anyway, thank you all for watching live. Let me know what you all think positively on how you feel about my thoughts and predictions on how I think this event's going to go, how this takeover event's going to go. And yeah, that's all I have to say. And thank you all for watching post live after it's been uploaded. Let me know what you all think. And I will talk to you all later. God bless. Take care.